When I was 6 years old, a truly terrifying and unsettling incident occurred in my life that would change everything. However, I grew up to be who I am today and have no intention of regretting anything. But this story isn't about me. On that day, my father and I were playing hide and seek in our typical two-bedroom apartment in an ordinary Soviet-era building. We were alone at home because my mother was running late at work, as usual. My father had picked me up from daycare earlier than usual and was enthusiastically entertaining me. Hide and seek was our favorite game. He always hid cleverly and inventively, and sometimes, as a naive little kid, I genuinely couldn't find him. When that happened, my father would start coughing softly, and when I followed the sound, he would jump out from his hiding spot. I would pretend to be scared and burst into laughter with joy and happiness. In the early evening twilight, we hadn't turned on the lights yet, and it was my turn to seek. My father told me that this time he would hide so well that even the most experienced seeker would have a hard time finding him. I never saw him again. He couldn't have gone anywhere from our 8th floor apartment. The windows and the single door were bolted shut from the inside. When my mother, slightly intoxicated, returned from work, I opened the door with tears and snot running down my face, having a full-blown tantrum. From that day on, my life changed entirely. My mother thought that my father had finally left her, treating her and me like dirt. Eventually, she spiraled into alcoholism, and her parental rights were revoked. I moved in with my aunt, my mother's sister. I owe her a great deal for safeguarding our property because during her initial drinking binges, my mother had attempted to sell the apartment to some dubious characters who would intoxicate her to the point of delusion. My aunt insisted that my mother transfer the property to my name, and until I reached adulthood, I lived with her while also generating income from the apartment. Incidentally, I now recall that my aunt frequently complained to someone that the tenants didn't stick around in the apartment for long, and sometimes they vanished without a trace, without paying rent, or conversely, they paid in advance and then ran out of the apartment as if their lives depended on it. In any case, after my 18th birthday, I moved into my inherited apartment. Why am I writing all of this in the first place? Well, over the course of 12 years, I've been thoroughly convinced that my father indeed left us with my mother in an original and despicable manner, and there was no mystique behind his disappearance. I should be celebrating the beginning of my independent life, but for the 3rd consecutive night, when twilight falls but it's still too early to turn on the lights, I hear a strange cough that eerily reminds me of something from my early childhood. Each time, I'm certain that my father is about to jump out from some hidden place, behind a chair or from the closet. I don't know what I'll do if it actually happens. I genuinely don't know.